Hello, my name is Michael Stabile. I'm currently a first-year seminarian from Holy Apostles Parish in Cranston, studying for the Diocese of Providence. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the gospel that we heard this weekend. We hear Mark's account of the Transfiguration, where Jesus takes James and his brother John up the mountain, and he reveals his glory to them. In this gospel, we hear an overwhelming presence of light. We hear that Jesus' clothes were dazzling white. In a similar account from Matthew, we hear that Jesus' face shone like the sun. St. Thomas Aquinas was a great doctor of the church, points to a deeper meaning in this light. In fact, he even goes so far as to point out that light is one of the four characteristics of the resurrected body, coming from the Latin word claritas, or clarity. And so in a similar fashion, when we look to Catholic tradition, we see saints as always being portrayed with halos around their head or with rays of light shining upon them. These saints who have lived their lives in service to Christ and his church are models of virtue, are models of holiness, and are models of sanctification. Yet we of course look to Christ as being the perfect model of virtue. And so during this Lenten season, we're called to imitate Christ, to follow in the light that he shines forth, to follow in that model. But for some of us, there are different ways of doing that. Perhaps during this Lenten season, some of us are called to increase our prayer time, maybe add an extra rosary to our week's schedule, maybe figure out which days of the week are most convenient for us to get to daily Mass and not just Mass attendance on the weekends. But perhaps for others, it's an increase in virtue. We're called to take time to figure out where in our lives are we not meeting the expectation? Where are we falling short? Those are what we call vices, of course being the opposite of virtues. What vices do we need to transform into virtues? It's no doubt that during this COVID-19 pandemic, we've all faced unexpected distresses or setbacks or pains. And so our patience is being tested. And so interestingly enough, in order to increase our patience, we look to the virtue of gratitude. There's a very interesting correlation here. We realize that it's in growing in gratitude and in realizing the many blessings that God has bestowed upon us that we tend to focus less on what we are lacking, or perhaps what is lacking in others. It's important that we take that time, though, to examine where we are falling short. Because if we don't take the time to examine, we most certainly are not taking the time to make adjustments. And so St. Ignatius of Loyola offers us a great method, a method by which we come to understand where we are falling short. He tells us that at the end of each day, we should take 3 distinct parts of our day and really look deep into them. Try to discover where Christ is at work, and try to realize where we fell into sin, where we gave into temptation. For it is in realizing where we have fallen short that we can grow, where we can transform those vices into virtues. But indeed, we do this firstly by following in the light of Christ. That light is the symbol of his model, the model of virtue, the model of holiness, and again, that model of sanctification. And so I encourage you during this Holy Lent, in addition to adding that rosary, in addition to getting to Mass on those few extra days throughout the course of the week, set aside some time for examination. Examine where you can do better. Follow in the light of Christ, so that by turning your vices into virtues, you too might be transformed. You too might see the glory of God as revealed to James and his brother John in this weekend's gospel. God bless you all.